Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meander Travel Podcast. I'm your host, Tony, with my wife, Julie.
Hello.
And our producer, Caleb.
Hey.
We're here today to talk about Paris. This is our bonus. Again. Kind of. We've had a 4-part series on France that we've been doing, 4 episodes. This is episode number 7, but it's our 5th out of 4 because we decided to do a bonus episode on Paris. We just had too much content to talk in those 4 episodes that we kind of wanted to talk about some of our favorite things that we did and maybe tell some quirky stories and some tidbits about Paris that we just didn't find ways to fit them into the other 4 episodes. So come along with us as we're going to tell our top 5 faves and get into some quirky things about Paris on this episode. So wheels up.
All right, cool. Well, welcome everybody. So we sat down the other night and it was actually really fun post-trip and talked about what were some of your favorites. So we each independently made our own lists. We didn't talk about them. We didn't share them. And we did pretty good on having very different things despite really liking pretty much everything that we did together. So I'm going to share the one that I thought was the most
Well, we're going to do
amazing.
5 each.
5 each, yes.
Yes, and we'll alternate. And by the way, we didn't agree on these things as top 5 favorites.
Okay.
See.
Well, my favorite, or what really impacted me. So I love books and I love history, and you put them together and you have Shakespeare and Company, and it is the cutest little bookshop. And you see it in pictures, and you might see it on an Emily in Paris episode, or you might hear about it, but you go see it in person and you think, well, that's kind of disappointing. It's really little, like really
From the
little.
outside.
Yeah. And there's a line. They actually, well, ironically, we didn't have a line because we had no lines in Paris during the Olympics, but they had queues there set up as if you needed a line. So we went in. They'll only let so many people in the shop at one time because they want to try to control how many people are mulling about. It's huge inside. It's this warren of little hallways and cozy alcoves, and it was so cute. And they had all these different sections of reading, like children's area, and every topic: mystery, romance, suspense, history, whatever. It was the cutest little place. And I said to myself, that's it. We are moving to France. We're moving to Paris, and I'm getting a job at this bookshop.
That's not actually going to happen, but it was fun.
It might. It might. And cool too, if you buy something there, which we did, we bought a children's book for our neighbor. They will stamp it, the interior of your book, with this really cool Shakespeare and Company stamp.
So it's always going to be there that you had a memento from that store.
Yeah, from Paris.
I thought it was cool. I liked it. It wasn't my favorite, but I knew that you really, really got into it.
I liked it way more than I thought I would. It was awesome.
So that leads me to my first one, and this is a big one that's on probably a lot of lists, but it was different for me for a different reason. Mine is the Jardin de Luxembourg Gardens. Jardin Gardens. So the Gardens of the Gardens, yeah. Anyways, it's a huge gardens down in the 6th, 5th. I think it's right at the border, but maybe right towards the edge. That were all dedicated to queens and women leaders in France. And that was pretty neat. Julie took pictures with every single one of them.
I think I did, because they were all just very beautiful and thoughtful looking.
But for me, the really cool part about this was there's the Arago line, which is the old line that they tried to make from the North Pole to the South Pole, which is the Greenwich line. It goes through England. They tried to make it go through France. Long time ago. They commemorated that by putting little discs all over the ground throughout Paris on the north-south latitude. So the kind of cool thing is there's a bunch of them in that gardens. I like that kind of stuff. I went looking for them. Found a bunch of them.
You have no idea how much time we spent looking at the ground.
For lots of reasons, but we'll get into some of those at some other time. Then another thing just outside the gardens on one of the walls is the original meter. Now I'm a dork with this kind of stuff, but yeah. So back when they went to the metric system, nobody knew what that was and how it was. But in France, what they did is they put a couple, there was, I think 3 of them, slabs that were exactly a meter in stone.
Marble slabs, or what were they?
I think they're limestone. But they were they put them on the wall of just on the walls of buildings. And these 3 people would come from all around saying, hey, I needed to measure something. They didn't know how to measure, so they would take anything they had and hold it up to the stone, which is exactly 1 meter long. So that's how it gained acceptance, is people would take their things to this wall and measure them against a stone. I think there's 2 left, but one of them is right outside the garden, and I thought it was cool. Took a picture, probably put it on the website. But that's another thing that's in the gardens. And then there's also one of the Statue of Liberties in Paris, since, by the way, in case people don't know, and they should know, the Statue of Liberty that's in New York is a gift from France to the United States. And they commemorate that by putting statues of liberties around different spots in Paris. And then that with the fountains, there's a couple really hidden ones in there. It's just a really beautiful space. So that's one of my top 5.
That's where people go and they get a bottle of wine and have a picnic or something.
They also had the Olympic rings in there so people could take photos. So that was also another draw for us that day, is that we went in there to see. We didn't even know they were in there, though, but we went in there for the gardens, and then we were like, oh, we get to take our picture with
it was cool.
Rings.
We stumbled upon a couple different Olympic rings that we didn't know where they were, and people line up for that. It was a really long line. We just stood off to the side and did a selfie. We're like, meh, that's good. Anyway, so my turn. My next one is, so I already mentioned it in my first one, but we're big fans of Emily in Paris. And if you haven't watched that show, it's just a cute little Netflix show, but it takes place in Paris, and it was fun to watch before. It's really fun to watch now, having just gotten back.
Yes.
It's really cool because a lot of the places that she goes in that show, they're really careful about highlighting Paris. And it's fun because we're like, oh, we were just there. Oh, we saw that. Well, we did check a few of the locations into Tony's little Google Maps that he has. And when we were walking one day, we're just kind of strolling down the street, and all of a sudden he gets his phone out and he's videotaping me. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? He's like, just keep walking. Like, you're being weird. Okay, so I keep walking, and then all of a sudden I come upon this cute little red restaurant, really small, petite, and I realize that it's Gabrielle's restaurant from the show, Emily in Paris. He hadn't even watched the show, so he didn't care.
I hadn't seen one episode. I didn't know anything about this.
He didn't care at all. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know where we are. This is so cool. Well, we looked at it. It's adorable. Turns out we were actually pretty hungry at that moment in time. And we thought, maybe we'll sit down because the table right in front of the restaurant that faces the lovely street was available. So we sat down, and would you know it, we thought probably the food isn't very good here because it's probably just kind of one of these facade places. No. It's a lovely restaurant called Terra Nera or Terra Nera. Not sure how you pronounce it. It's in the Latin quarter. We had the most phenomenal blue cheese ravioli.
Oh, it was
like
so
a gorgonzola ravioli.
One of the best
and a
meals we
glass
had
of
in
white
Paris.
wine. It was so good. Maybe it was just the whole atmosphere. Love was in the air. I don't know. It was delightful. So that was fun to see something from film and then go experience it.
Side note, my dorkiness, I got up and I'm a coach. I was a coach for high school athletics downhill ski team. And I thought, hey, I got stickers on me. And stickers I put on things all over France and like electrical boxes, different things. Well, I thought, hey.
Where people had already put stuff, by the way. You're
I'm
not just
the first one, right?
things.
I'm an artist, right? And so I thought on the street sign that's right in front of the restaurant, if I put one strategically facing away from the restaurant, that maybe when they do some pano shots of the restaurant in the next season, maybe my ski team's sticker will be showing up on the. So if you watch and you look at the stop sign, total dork here, my sticker might be in next season's episodes.
Sure. I think they'll probably edit that out, but okay.
No.
Your next one?
Okay, so then nearby there, in the Latin Quarter, I have a thing for Ernest Hemingway. Don't know why. I don't read that much.
That's a weird way of putting it.
But I do, and I've seen a lot of things around this world that relate to Ernest Hemingway. I've searched them out. I don't know why. I mean, The Sun Also Rises was big for me back in school. I've since listened to Movable Feast. There's just something about.
We saw the tree in Key West that he peed on.
Yeah, there's a really cool plaque on a tree in Key West that says Hemingway peed here, and he used to pee on the tree when he came out of the bars, Sloppy Joe's. Anywho, that's what got me started on it. But so now when I go places, I've got a whole map on my Google Maps dedicated to Ernest Hemingway locations. bars, restaurants, cafes that
Because
he
he's
frequented.
been everywhere.
He has. What's one of the cool things I like about him is not his books. He was an adventurer. He traveled the world. He went and lived in Cuba. He lived in Paris multiple times. He's been everywhere, and he's a sportsman, hunter, fisherman, just a really cool guy. Kind of maybe a little bit of a prick, but he's also a cool guy. Anyways, we walked the walk of his life, basically, in Paris. We went from, he used to hang out at Gertrude Stein's apartment, which is another famous author, through the Luxembourg Gardens, over by Rue Mouffetard. I don't know if I'm saying that correct.
Probably not.
Probably not. But he had his own little haunts, and we went to cafes that he went to, and we went to where he did his writing in an apartment, and then around the corner where he lived with his first wife. It's just kind of cool to trace the steps. And after you've heard A Movable Feast about Paris and his time in Paris, and you hear these stories, and then all of a sudden you watch, you see these streets and these places, you kind of really feel connected to it. It was a unique experience.
And I can add to that because I had started reading a book well before we went to France called The Paris Wife. And it's a fiction book, but it's based on his first wife's, her life story, basically. And it's kind of the author, I'm sorry, I don't know her name in front of me right now because this just came to me. But she just kind of wrote it from that first wife's point of view of what she thought that woman probably would have been feeling and thinking at the time. Anyway, all of the places that we saw were in that book too. So I felt really connected to that as well. So I wasn't just a bored passenger going along with you as we toured all those places. It was really cool to see those things.
And I'm a bit geeky. I've seen a lot of places at different spots around the world for him. And there'll be more probably mentioned in other episodes. But that was mostly all in the 6th and in the 5th arrondissement, so the Latin Quarter. So, Julie, you're number 3.
All right, so my next one, this is not a hidden place by any means. It's the Sacré-Cœur. It's the big cathedral in Montmartre, and it is spectacular looking. But what we really enjoyed, it was rainy that day, so we were kind of getting wet, and we went inside and looked at the church, and that was lovely. But we went around the left-hand side of the church. There was usually, I'm assuming, a very long line because they had places for people to queue up, but we just zipped right through, paid our fee, like literally nobody in front of us. And we climbed I don't know how many, 300 stairs or something like that to the top, to the bell tower, and we had it all to ourselves. There was one family there when we arrived. They left shortly thereafter. And then we had nobody up there for quite a while, and we could just go in circles and take photos and look at 360-degree views of Paris, including the Eiffel Tower. We got really creative with our cameras because it was raining. What are we else going to do? So we just had so much fun taking pictures of gargoyles and ourselves. And
I think we spent an hour doing photography up there.
At
the graffiti
least.
inside. I mean,
Black and white photos.
By the way, when we talk about graffiti, and we've talked about it in other episodes, graffiti is... it's vandalism, but over time, graffiti becomes art. And I see it as art sometimes and not just,
To be clear, we did not
do
add
any
graffiti.
But I do find an appreciation. There was some really beautiful sketches and messages written up there. There's tens of thousands of things written on those walls up there. Mm-hmm. So it's not like there's just one or two things. It's everywhere you look.
Some people put their first and last name, which I'm not sure how bright that is.
Yeah, not the smartest people.
I don't know. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. That was a really fun day. And then just walking around that area too, I thought next time we might have to come and stay in this arrondissement, in that Montmartre area. It looks kind of like Disneyland, actually. It's all so cute and so pretty. It kind of looks fake. Like, is this real life? Do people really live like this here? Flowers everywhere and cute pink houses, and it's adorable.
It's a cool place. My third of 5. This is a little off the beaten path. You're not going to see this written up a lot of places. And Julie's going because we went to a sandwich shop and we were walking around and I said, hey, I got this pin that I did some research and I found that there's this really amazing sandwich shop. And she's thinking to herself, we have bread 24/7 in France and you're going to take me to a sandwich shop.
Sandwich.
She was like, I'm not in the mood for a sandwich. I said, let's just go take a look. It has unbelievable reviews about the people and the servers, the service, and the food. So we stopped. It's called Chez Jeune Fille. It's we'll put it in the notes, but it's not like it's a tiny little place. And we were hungry, so we said, let's get some to eat. And we found, what did we find that you wanted to get there in a way?
Well, one of the things I wanted to have going into France was beef bourguignon. That was going to be one of the main things I wanted to have while we were there. So I was dead set on getting it. And so we looked at the menu. I'm like, okay, sandwich, what are we going to get here? I'm like, oh, there's beef bourguignon. Okay, I'll have that one.
In a pita.
And then I thought, in a pita.
Okay, so then cue Julie leaving to excuse herself for a few minutes, and while I'm sitting there talking to the chef and the waitress, I'm watching the chef make this thing in the background, and he's pouring this sauce and gravy into the pita with the meat, and I'm like, it looks amazing. Julie, how good was it?
I can't even. Oh, it was so, so good. It was just rich and luscious and tangy, and that beef sauce, it just... I can't even.
I dare say it was your favorite meal in Paris? Possibly.
Yeah, I think it was.
And you fought me on stopping at
I
this
didn't
little...
fight you, but I was skeptical.
So it's called Chez Jean Fille, and something, that's the treasures when you find these little places that are off the beaten path. They're not the Du Margot, Magot. Double maggots, or whatever you say. I don't know how to say it for next. But these famous places that get all the pub and like there's lines waiting outside. We were the only ones there.
Yeah, but the reason that place is famous is because of Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah, and that's true.
The other one
and
you just mentioned. But yeah,
we went there
the
too,
other thing about this one too is pay attention to reviews. If something has a 5-star review and there's 500 of them or 1,000 of them, it's for good reason.
Yep.
So yeah, you did a good job on that one. I liked that one. Okay, so my next one. So we, as we mentioned in our last podcast, we vigilantly watched the Les Frenchies Facebook group page. And one of the questions was, if I was to take a boat tour on the Seine, which one should I do? That question came up a lot. And so they did a little exploration and they did a bunch of the boat tours, and they decided that their favorite was the Les Califs boat tour. And so I said, why reinvent the wheel? Let's just sign up for that one because we've already got personal recommendation. So that was a really wonderful experience for us. Now, one of the things I liked best about it was we're there for the Olympics. And so we got to take a boat tour on the Seine with all of the Olympic stuff from opening ceremonies still up. And so we got to float down the river that everybody had just floated down 2 nights before or a couple nights.
The day after.
The day after, okay.
Yeah, it was the next night.
Yeah, so we were on a bridge watching the opening ceremonies, so we didn't get to see what was going on further down except on a video screen. Well, then on the Paris boat cruise on the Seine, we could see some of that stuff. It's like, oh, those are those heads that were sticking out of the water. Now I can see what they look like. And yeah, that's where the rock band was on fire on that building. Oh, that's cool. So for us, it was not going to be the same for the next people taking that cruise, obviously, because those things will be gone. But for us, it kind of came full circle into finishing off our opening ceremonies. And it was just such a lovely evening. And then the sun sets. You have this 3-course meal. You have your little appetizer, which they call an entree. You have that first. Then you have your dinner meal. And then you have a dessert. You get a bottle of wine. So you're plenty happy. And then as the sun sets, then the Eiffel Tower lights up. And it's just in all of its glory.
They brought us by the Eiffel Tower at precisely the first time that it ticks
9
off.
o'clock, boom, the Eiffel Tower lights up.
That Eiffel Tower clicked on and it was twinkling and everybody goes ooh and ah.
Then 5 minutes, the first 5 minutes of every hour it twinkles.
Yeah, for 5 minutes only. I'm not a fan. I know that this drives people crazy, but they're like,
drives me crazy.
It's cool. It's a novelty to see it twinkling, and people think it's up like the greatest thing ever.
I don't think the Parisians like it very much.
I like the rustic color with that dim yellow light. I like the classic look of it just all the time at night. But if you're only going to give it 5 minutes, I'm fine with that. Let the people ooh and ah for 5 minutes and then bring it back to where it was.
He'd prefer I don't wear makeup too.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It's kind of the same thing.
Wow, weird. Okay, so on to I got 2 more. One of them, I'm going to go with speakeasies. We talked about this in our opening. If you ever listen to our first episode, the things that we like to do in this world, we love speakeasies. Julie and I will search them out in every city we go to. Try to go to as many as we can. We just like that quaint, quiet, dark, dimly lit, cozy, throwback to...
No, secretive.
Secretive.
That's the part that I like about speakeasies. And if they don't have that element, I'm a little bit disappointed.
Well, secretive can be two different things. One, you got to have a password or a quirky way to get inside.
I love
Others
that.
are hidden bars because there's a difference. Speakeasies and hidden bars, similarities. Hidden bars can also just be a hidden bar that you can't see from the street. You don't understand where it is. So I'm going to list a few that we did. We went to 7 different ones. We went into like 4 or 5 of them and had drinks and reasons why. So we started off with Lavomatic. Now this is the classic, one of the oldest ones in Paris. It's been around for a really long time. You enter through a laundromat, and you have to figure out how to get inside the bar from the laundromat. And when you do, you go into upstairs, and it's a really cool bar. That was awesome. Then we went to L'Epicure.
Well, and then also when you go into these places, typically they have really creative craft cocktails. So you're not just going to get a ho-hum glass of wine. You could, but for the most part, they have really interesting and neat cocktails.
And we had some good ones. I had like dill pickle ones.
Oh my gosh, I was so jealous of that one.
That was a great one.
It sounded really bizarre, but it was fantastic.
That was at Lavomatic. Then we went to, I'm gonna butcher this, but L'Epicure. Epicure?
Epicier?
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, that was
We're still working on our French.
Yeah, we're working on it. But that one was a really neat one. That had a lot of different unique lampshades from all over the world. And we sat there and talked with other people in the bar. One of them was from Minnesota. And there's a total of 6 people in this bar. So somebody from St. Paul, Minnesota was there, and we could hear him talking. Kind of jumped in and we're like, all right, wait a minute.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're sitting right next to you and we can't help but overhear. Did you just say you're from St. Paul? Because we're from Minnesota. Like, what are the odds?
So then we went to the Little Red Door, and that's just a tiny little door in the street that you have to kind of duck down and go through. But there was a line outside, so we said, meh, and we moved on.
Okay, I'm like, I don't remember that one. That's why.
And then we went to the Mobster Bar. Julie struggled. This was you have to go to the front door, and there's a phone. And you have to pick up the phone and talk to somebody and listen and answer questions. And
no, you don't talk to anybody. You pick up the phone and it's a recorded message. And it's in English, but with a very thick French accent. And I was like, wait, what? What? And first, you don't know what you're doing.
And I'm recording it all with a video camera, by the way.
He enjoyed going to the speakeasies mostly because he recorded me looking like an idiot trying to figure out how to get into the speakeasies. I think you enjoyed that most of all. But it took me a few times of listening to this to figure out, all I have to do is get the answer from what she's saying. But then the French accent was so thick, it took me a few times. I finally did get it. But then once we got in the door, wah, 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 they were full. And they said, can you come back later?
So we didn't go to that one. We never went back to it because you're moving around. This is up in the third, the 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 11th arrondissement, and we walked a lot. So we were this was our speakeasy tour. So we weren't going to go backwards.
There were others.
Yep. So then we went down to the Moonshiner. I believe this one's in the 11th. This one was fun because I knew what it was and how to get in, and boy, they throw you for a loop on this one. It's the back of a restaurant. You just walk in and you just walk through the restaurant.
Is that the one in the pizza place?
Yeah. You walk through the pizza place. People are looking. You just walk like you got a purpose. You walk right through the restaurant, right to the back of the restaurant, and there's doors that are, you'd think they're doors for the servers to go in and out with their pizzas and whatnot. You just push that open. You go into a closet room. By the way, we're sharing secrets here. Sorry if we wreck it for people, but
you'll forget by the time you get there.
You'll forget. And you'll be like, what is this place? You go into another room that's like a closet room that has all their utensils and their mop buckets and all the extra stuff that looks like a back room, a closet room. And then you go through the next door. And there's no person you're talking to. You just go. And all of a sudden you open up, and there's this awesome bar back there.
Yeah. And we had the most phenomenal bartender. He was so professional and so kind and so helpful. He had it going on. He was really, really, really good.
When we were leaving, he was like, okay, where are you going next? What speakeasy? You got to go to this bar, ask for this person, giving us recommendations. Like, it was too far away from where we were. And by this time, we were 5 bars in, and we were like, we got to get home.
That's enough for us. That place was cool, though, because we wondered, do the people eating pizza out there even know what's going on back here? Or do they all know? Like, I don't know. They might know.
I don't think they do. I think that those people up there will just see people going in and out the back room.
And the pizza smelled amazing, too. If we hadn't already eaten, I'd for sure have gotten a pizza.
True.
Because I would go back there again and do pizza and then do the bar or whatever. Oh, it smelled so good.
All right. And then one last one. We were on our back. That wasn't the same night, but we went and I knew of one that was an alley. This is a hidden bar. and kind of a speakeasy as well, but there's nothing fancy about getting in. It's just a hidden bar, kind of like the one in the pizza place. Walking up some alley, and I said, Julie, just figure out where we're going. And she's looking around. There's this gray door, nondescript alley. There's not a soul around. We're the only one. Nobody's on the
there's
street.
a bar around here?
She's like, this is not right. There's not right. And I said, just keep looking. And I didn't know. And all of a sudden she looks over and we look over and there's on this gray door, a little rectangular slot. And knock and come on in. It was open up the door and you're in this really small little bar. That was the Castor Club. And I don't even think it shows up on a lot of maps. So you gotta dig for some of these places. And that's part of it, is that some of them they don't put on Facebook or on Google Maps, or because they want them to be. You have to know. Yeah. Just got to hear about it.
And it's funny too, because once you walk in, there's music playing and people, murmuring. You're like, how do we not hear any of this from the street? It's totally blocked off.
So that's one of my favorites, is the speakeasy, and we will do more and more everywhere we go.
Cool. Yep, I like it. Those are fun. So my last one, I'm just going to wrap up with, we talked about it a little bit too, but man, it just needs repeating. Macarons, people. If you think you don't like macarons, it's because you haven't had them in France.
Or good ones.
Come on. They are so good. I had them when I was younger and I wasn't, maybe all that thrilled with them. And now as I'm older, I
Describe
realize.
Describe it for the people who don't have any idea what
macarons are those beautiful little colorful cookies. They're like green and pink and orange, and they have all of these, they're multi-layered. Sometimes they have a little cream of something inside of them, but they're really flaky. Okay, so we decided we're going to become macaron experts. We're going to try the top 3-4 different brands in the country, and then we would actually kind of analyze them and take notes. And so what we decided was that we really liked Pierre Hermé. I thought, well, this is my personal opinion. Tony's might differ. I thought they had a better texture. I thought they were a little bit better made. However, having said that...
Completely agree with that, by the way. I thought they were the best.
Okay, and we're splitting hairs too, by the way. I would not get one from the other places if you couldn't find this one. They're all good. But just having them all in front of us and trying them, we just thought that their flavors were a little bit more evolved. Their texture was a little bit better. But then there's La Durée. La Durée? I don't know. It's the one that is like a mint green. They have the best marketing because their boxes and their swag, like you can buy candles and you can buy tote bags, all really
Kids
beautiful. If you have a teenage daughter, you take her there and she'll lose her mind. And their macarons are also really, really good. My favorite one of any of the ones I had, including Pierre Hermé, was the La Durée Citrus Ginger. Man, that was so good. So tangy and vibrant. I really love that one. I would choose that one number one overall. But just for who I thought was the better performer in general, I thought Pierre Hermé was. But yeah, so macarons.
I got something to add on that. That's not to the flavor, but the thing is, you get these and you want to bring them home. And they don't last that long, like 3-4 days. A week is too long. But if you want to bring some home as a gift, which people do all the time, because they even have La Durée in the airport, is packaging and getting them home, because they are so delicate and flaky, and that they bounce around in boxes and they get damaged. But Ricart, which is another place, one of the three that we went to, they have the best packaging system I've ever seen. It's a box, then they have like single individual trays that are like bubble wrapped for each cookie. So you could take a box full of cookies home and they're not moving in, not even a centimeter.
You could stash them into your carry-on and you would be fine with it.
You could smash that box and they were not going to hurt
the
cookies.
True.
And they had really good ones, and they had the chocolates that aren't even allowed to be sold in the United States. Some really cool, from some tree.
Yeah, some spice or some...
It was really cool. Anyways, that's a great place, Ricart.
It was fun. I mean, on vacation, you just throw calories to the wind, man. It doesn't matter. It doesn't count. Just enjoy yourself, because it's not the same here.
So my last one is a small cafe in the Latin Quarter that Julie does not agree with me, but we went to a lot of cafes, and the big name ones where everybody goes to and there's huge lines and they were super expensive. We went to a small cafe.
For breakfast.
For breakfast. It was one of our last days. And it was called Josie Cafe. You get there and you're like, oh, it's a little platform out on the street with wood planks, and then they got some tables out there with some wood railings, and it's nothing to write home about. It's not like, wow, look at this place. It's amazing. It's a very cute, quaint little place, but it's on the street. And the street is what made this for me. So when you sit outside and you get your coffee, in your food. You're sitting there, and I'm looking across from Julie. I'm looking down at Notre Dame, and she's looking up at the Pantheon of Paris. So we have these two iconic, huge buildings, and this street is a straight line up and down to both of these monuments. And we sat there just having a great time. We have conversation, quiet little place. It's almost all locals, it seems like. Mm-hmm. And it was off the beaten path. It wasn't your big famous place, but it was great food and great coffee.
He loves avocado toast, and it was a really good avocado toast.
Yep.
But it was even better city planning, because to have those two monuments at either end of that street and sit in the middle, it's like, wow, that's really
I'm looking over
cool.
her shoulder, and she's looking over mine, and just a very unique experience.
I mean, I wouldn't say that you absolutely have to put that on your Google Maps and make sure you find a way to get there, but it was good coffee, good food, really cool little atmosphere. It was
great
fun.
Service.
But there are a lot of places like that in Paris.
Right. But you got to find them.
Well, yeah.
And if you happen to be in the Latin Quarter, that's one of them. All right, so that is our top 5 or 5 that we wanted to share. And now we're going to move on to some stories, quirky things about Paris, things that happened to us if you wanted to just tune in for the top 5 of our things and move on, okay. This is more of, we're going to swallow our pride in a couple stories.
Well, all of these travels sound so glamorous and so fun and so amazing, but where's the real world in here? We're going to give you some of the real world. So we did have some mishaps. We did have some hiccups. We did have some injuries.
Let's start off with yours.
Yeah. So, So we were in Marseille, and we are on our way to our first Olympic game. This has preceded the opening ceremonies, but we're super excited. We're going to go see France take on USA. Awesome. So excited. So we're in the metro.
Men's soccer.
Men's soccer. Sorry. Small detail. So we're in the metro, and we've just gotten our metro cards.
And coffees.
I'm holding an iced coffee in one hand. I'm holding on to my crossbody purse in the other because it's kind of banging against things. And my ticket, Tony gets his ticket, goes straight through the metro turnstile, no problem. And my ticket won't work. And I'm stuck outside. I'm like, hang on. He's halfway to the train. I'm like, hello, mine's not going through. He's like, just try it again. So I kept trying and it wasn't working. And I'm looking next to me, and the people on either side of me are just jumping over the turnstiles. Like, no big deal.
Like
just
it's an Olympic sport.
Like, what the heck is going on?
High jumping.
And someone said, oh, don't worry about it. The ticket stations never work in this one. Just jump. I'm like, okay. I'm a rule follower for one, so I don't really like doing that. And number two, I'm afraid I'm going to get caught by the cops that are everywhere. And then number 2, I'm holding a coffee, and it's kind of tall, so I'm trying to I got one leg over it. I'm trying to hop my other leg over while holding onto my coffee, and I just did not manage to do it. And I splatted about as hard as
Literally.
a person could fall on that concrete. It sounded...
I was facing away, and I heard the sound, and I'm like, oh no. Turned around, and she's on all fours, flat as a pancake.
And it hurt. It hurt. And I fell on my hands and my knees. My knees were scuffed. And at first I thought, oh my gosh, my knees, I don't know what I did to them. But once we got on the train, I realized, okay, that's not a real problem. I think I broke my hand.
So we went to a pharmacy, and a little tip here, pharmacies in France, and a lot of places in Europe, are also able to prescribe drugs on site or do things that our pharmacies just can't here in the United States. So we had very helpful people there. We bought a brace. They opened this
giant closet, and they had every brace you could possibly imagine. He's like, do you by any chance happen to have a brace here or something maybe that we can put on my wife's hand? And he opens this door, and it's like floor to ceiling, all different kinds of braces. Like, what the heck?
So we buy that, and then we move on over to the stadium where we go stand in line, and we're standing up there. And this is kind of funny. You got to take it in stride. We're standing there, and Julie's in pain, and also we look over.
I might have done a little crying, maybe a little bit of anger, frustration.
And off to the side, we see 2 people that look like firefighters. They got the gear on, but it's hot outside, and they're standing in the sun. And I said, just go ask them. So she walks over and talks to them. They say, come with me. And she comes back and gets me, and we leave the line. The stadium's not open yet. And
the lady in front of us had known could see that I was upset. And she's like, are you okay? And I was holding my hand. We had an ice bag. You got an ice bag. She's like, go talk to the medical personnel. And so we did. And
So they take us around the outside of the stadium to another entrance that is for employees only. and they walk us through. They don't check our tickets. They don't do anything. They just take us inside. They bring us into which was nearby, thank God. We went into their medical room.
Infirmary.
And there was probably 6 to 7 people in there, 8 people in there are ready to start. Then Julie goes in and sits on a table. They pop her up, and they're getting on their walkie-talkies, and they're making calls, and they're just swarming around her. And it was great. They had this one older doctor that was helping her. But all of a sudden, over the next 5 minutes, I counted, there was 23 people in the room that came filing in. And we're talking suits, ties. We're talking Olympic ceremony people that are like, we have patient 0 of the Olympic Games, because this is the first game of the Olympics pretty much, and nobody's been into the stadium yet. So you might have been the first person that anybody at the Olympics that they had to treat. So because it was like a test subject, everybody came to see what was the emergency. It was somebody that fell, and then she kind of had to explain. She didn't say, by the way, I was breaking the law.
I'm sure they were like, there's American, she's injured, she probably fell on the premises. They probably thought I did it there. And when I said, I'm okay, and I didn't do this here, I did it in the metro, they're like, oh, okay, peace out, bye, and they left. But I was very embarrassed to say that I was jumping a turnstile. That's what you get. That's karma, I guess.
Currently healing, not broken. So
no, I didn't. I chose not to go to the emergency room. I did not want to waste my Olympic time doing that. And I dealt with the pain, very uncomfortable till I got home. Had it x-rayed, it was negative. But anyway.
Okay, I'll move on to my humorous, kind of embarrassing story. So Julie wanted to go to a Monoprix, which is like their, what is it, grocery store kind of thing? What is it? It's kind of like a city supermarket kind of thing. It's got food on one level. It's got goods on another level. Anyways, we went inside. We wanted to get you wanted
to borrow soap because you can't get a bar of soap to save your life in any of the hotels.
You want a conditioner.
And there's no conditioner. And my hair, I couldn't even comb it. Like, you have to have conditioner.
So we go
They
upstairs.
do shampoo.
We find no conditioner because you can't find that anywhere. And I found a bar of soap, and we're talking like $1.50 for this bar of soap. And then I got some water for us to leave. So I have like $5 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
So we get in line. And there's all these women in front of me, and we're standing there. Julie's with me, and after a while, I send her on her way to go out and go look around and do whatever. I'll meet her outside, and lo and behold, this older woman comes up and kind of comes to the line, and the people in front of me like start talking French. They let her in. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good. That's very nice. This elderly lady, they let her in the line, and then she goes and gets in line right to the front. So I'm sitting there. And then a few minutes later, a pregnant woman just walks over, and they let her into the line. And now I'm not getting closer to the front of the line. I'm getting farther away from the front of the line. I'm like, okay, that's good too. That's a good thing. You should do that. I'm in this line for 10, 15 minutes, and I finally realize I'm not going anywhere. It's super slow transactions. I'm the only dude in this line, and all of a sudden I look up, and there's a sign above me that it's a women's and elderly and pregnant women line. I'm in a line with all women for women. And I'm like, oh, no. So I see the people off to my side that are at these self-service kiosks. I didn't want to do them because I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to understand what they were saying in French, because you're in a Paris. This is not for travelers. This is not for tourists.
Right. It's a local, yeah.
So I go over to this thing, and now I'm like 15, 20 minutes into this place for a bar of soap and some water. And now I'm just like, I'm going to succeed no matter what. And I go to the machine, and there's 4 of them. And I start to do it, and I realize I can't get this thing to work. Come to find out, I'm at one of the 2 machines that doesn't take credit cards. So now I have to switch out of that line, and I've made it so it doesn't work now. So now they have to wait for a manager to come.
It has your items loaded,
Yeah,
so
loaded.
now someone has to come over and delete that. So
now
another person.
The line's pissed at me because I've now made this line long. So now I switch over to the other line. Now I'm waiting in a 3rd line to get into the machine that allows credit card, and I barely got through that thing. I was in the store for almost 30 minutes to get a bar of soap and some water, and I come outside, and Julie's like, "What in the world took you?" I'm like,
I was searching the store for you. I'm like, what? Where did he go? How could he can't possibly still be up there? So.
I wonder if those women were talking about me later, like, what was he doing?
He told me afterwards, I laughed so hard. I'm like, oh my gosh, you were in a women's only line.
All right. So that's our humiliating stories. But that leads us to a couple things we should just say about Paris that we just, maybe you don't know, maybe you haven't heard. But one, conditioner. Not a thing.
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
Bring your own conditioner.
Your own
and bring
conditioner.
your own bar of soap. I don't care about that. I like gel soap. That's fine with me. But you don't like that. So bring your own bar.
If you like cocktails and you like wine and beer, whatever, beer's not bad. Cocktails, $12 to $18 for cocktails. I mean, they are expensive in Paris. However, wine, €3 to €5 a piece. So
Some
It's a
places
wine
that we
city.
went to, the water was more expensive than that. We're like, well, okay, I guess I'll have the wine instead.
How about
Saves
buildings?
money. Buildings, yeah. I mean, it's interesting when you're in an elevator, you better know that the ground floor is floor 0. So if you're going to go up, you're going up to floor 1. So it's not like in the United States when you're on floor 1 and you go up to 2. No, you're on 0 and go up to 1.
Which we may have pushed the wrong buttons several times.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Because you think you're going to your floor, but your floor is not your floor.
But if you're booking a hotel room and it says that it's on floor 1, you better know that that's, it's up.
Yep.
It's not main level. So you might have to walk up some stairs to go to floor 1.
Something that Julie noticed, and we didn't really take stock until we realized later on, there's no graphic tees. People don't wear like your concert T-shirts or cool sayings or things. They just don't do that in Paris.
Well, one of the most common things on the Facebook group page that I would see is, what do I wear? What do I wear? I don't want to look like a tourist or a traveler, an American. And I think you can wear, be comfortable. We saw lots and lots of men in jean shorts, tons and tons
Oh my
and
gosh,
tons
jean
of
shorts everywhere. It was
Everywhere.
straight out of the 80s.
But you do not see them with graphic T-shirts. So there's no sports T-shirts. There's no band names. There's no nothing. It is collared shirts or plain, nice, a pink T-shirt, black T-shirt, whatever, solid.
And let's go back to the jean shorts. Specifically, tighter jean shorts with cuffed bottoms, not like frilly, like the loose fray. They were like cuffed up, they're like skinny jeans, cut off, then cuffed.
More in southern France, though.
Yeah.
We didn't actually see that in Paris. We saw
It was
that
everywhere in
southern France. It was strange. I mean, it was fine. I didn't expect it. But yeah, dress nicely if you're in Paris. You might need some pants going out. A lot of places men have to be in pants. So just to know that.
Julie had a little run-in with her washing machine down in Nîmes. I think washing machines are washing machines. You can probably just put clothes in there, turn it to the little water cycle, and move on. And then it'll rinse. You had to Google directions because they're not the same.
Well, I was prepared for this because when we were in Croatia a few years ago with our family, I was trying to do laundry, and I swear I probably broke the thing. I don't know. It was so complicated. So this time around, I was prepared, and I Googled first, and I actually Googled the brand name of the machine to how to work it, and I did. But it took a lot longer than I expected, but it worked.
We'll leave you with one more. This last one is kind of funny because it took us a few moments to try and figure out. So our first week, we were opening up our disposable water bottles, and God, these are frustrating. They're hard to get open, and we're cranking on them, and then you rip it off, and then they get these spiky little pieces of plastic that are hitting you in the lip, and you're like, what in the world would they design this like this? It's horrible, and you couldn't pull that part off, that part that stays on the bottle, but it had these spikes, and I'm like, this is dumb. Well, about a week later, we figured out that if you didn't unscrew it completely off where you rip the cap off, it hangs. So when you open up a water bottle, they intentionally built their water bottle caps to you unscrew it so it comes off, but then it hangs as part of the as a holder for your cap. You don't have to hold on to your cap or you misplace it. It stays on.
It's brilliant.
It's so brilliant.
We're so stupid.
We're so dumb.
Americans are stupid for not doing caps like that, and we're dumber for not figuring it out sooner.
Now, here's the dumbest part. If they do that in the U.S. and we don't know it, now that we're going to be really funny.
No, come on.
No, hopefully not. So, all right. So that's some of the quirky things that we noticed and saw. We want to just kind of give some fun aspects of, what we saw, some funny stories, our top favorites of Paris.
One other thing I want to add about driving.
Go ahead.
Because it was so bizarre to us, that they use their hazard lights for everything. So don't be afraid if you are driving down the highway and there's multiple cars in front of you with their hazards light on. Not everybody has an emergency. They do that anytime they're braking or there's traffic that's going to be stopping up ahead, but they throw those suckers on a lot. So it was kind of interesting.
Oh, since you brought up driving, I'll give one more as well. Everybody drives in the right lane, and when they need to pass, they go to the left, pass, and they move back to the right. Everybody. This is not, it's the one thing we don't do correct in our country, and it is against the law, people, to drive in the left. You move slower traffic, move right. So yeah. I'm a very happy camper driving in any country that's not America because everybody does this. We're the only ones that don't.
Yeah.
So
true.
If you're fed up with people not getting out of the left lane when you're coming up and you're passing in the United States, rent a car in Europe. You'll love it. You'll absolutely love it. Okay, so we talked about a bunch of things today. This is our final 5th of 4 episodes on France. So we kind of gave this bonus one on Paris because we really wanted to tell some fun things that we loved and some quirky things that we saw. Don't know what's our next subject.
We haven't
This
discussed
is the
it yet.
completion of 7 series for us. And I just want to say that after 7 episodes recorded, we're learning. We're new to this podcast. This is something that we love to do, and we're having fun with it. We're getting better, I think. Maybe not stepping on each other's toes as much, specifically me stepping on Julie as she's talking. And I've slowed down, I think, a little bit because I was really talking fast in those first ones because I was so excited to share information, you guys, and we're having a lot of fun with this. By no means are we experts, but what we are is something that we're passionate about travel.
Yeah, and we have lots of fun ideas to share. And even on that topic, good segue for me. One of the things, so we're going to give you a little update on where we are with the whole digital nomad process. So we've discussed in some of our other episodes that what we're trying to do in some point in time in the near future is be able to travel the world a lot more often and do that, still making money somehow. We're still figuring that out. But one of the things that we decided to do recently and is kind of coming to fruition, we thought, all right, we have a lot of experience with trip planning, and we really love sitting down at our kitchen table and planning out these trips. We almost love it as much as we do taking the trip.
Which some people do not like to do.
A lot of people don't like. They either don't have the time, or they don't know how, or just they don't want to. We have all of those things, or we make the time. So we created a Google form
for my friend Martha.
Yeah, just thinking, this will maybe help our friend figure some things out. Maybe we can help her plan. Well, so we did the form. Actually, like it quite a lot.
Martha is someone that hasn't traveled outside of the U.S. and she said, "Hey, I don't know. You guys plan all these things." And I said, "Hey, let me work on a trip for you." And Julie and I, this is kind of how much we get into planning. I said, you give me some ideas," but she didn't have any ideas. She didn't really know what she wanted to go for sure. So I said, so Julie and I went home on that week, and I told her about my friend Martha that wanted to go on a trip. We sat down, and we probably spent 4, 5, 6 hours writing out and planning a Google Doc with 25, 30 questions that ask what people like and things they like to like about travel, hotels, airfare, rental cars, you name it, different things, food, everything.
Yeah, so we can kind of help get a feel for what kinds of things would they even want to do. So they don't know where they want to go. They know what they like to do when they go places. So we can help craft a trip that puts them in a position to do some of the things that they want to do or what they might want to see and in the manner in which they would like to travel. And it was funny because at my other job last week, I got a call from a friend of ours who said that their travel agent had recently retired, and she saw our trip online on Facebook and how great it was to France, and could we help them? So, well, yes, I sent her the form, and so we might have, she says, well, I will totally pay you for this. So, well, we haven't figured that part out yet. Right now, we're doing it for fun. However, at some point in time, maybe this would be part of what we would do down the road, is to help people plan. And let's be clear, I don't want to book any airfare and I don't want to book any hotels, but I will absolutely help you plan an itinerary. We'll find some amazing, cool, fun things for you to go do, maybe in a Roman Colosseum.
Let's temper
concert.
that a little bit. We're looking at doing that for friends and people we know right now. That is not a business plan for the future. True. So like if 10 years from now, this podcast is still going and people listen to this and they're calling us or emailing us, we might not be doing this as a job. This is something that we're currently trying to come up with ideas of how we can stay active and doing what we want to do, travel. This might be one of them.
The point is to take your passions, to take the things that you love to do and try to turn that into something that could make you a few bucks on the side. And if that helps you achieve some of your dreams, then that's awesome.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. Thanks for listening. We would appreciate feedback. Give reviews constructively, please.
Maybe don't harass us about our French accents, because we already know those are bad.
We're aware of that. We're aware. We're just sharing what we love. So hopefully you guys will tune in for the next one. Wheels up.